Hello and welcome to the Journal. I'm Steve Kendall. A familiar face to kids of all ages in the area is Benny the therapy dog, and now Benny's life adventures are being captured in print with the children's book, Benny's Big Heart. Joining us are Benny, his owner Carol Treece, and the author of the book, Susan Montgomery. And welcome all of you to the Journal. Thanks for being here. Benny, thank you. Carol, talk a little about Benny, because obviously people see Benny out and about all the time. He's always around helping people. He's here at the university. He goes all over the place and is just, just this big, wonderful, furry lug of a guy and all of that. So obviously he's a few years old. At what point did you start to think, maybe this would be a good thing for him to do? Was there a point you said he'd be good at this, or is it just sort of, did somebody suggest?
It was kind of my dream to have a therapy dog,
all
but right. It just kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was another dog in town. His name was Walter, way back, and he was a therapy dog and big, Bernese Mountain Dog. And so I thought, my next dog is going to be a therapy dog.
Yeah.
So when we got Benny, that was my goal, to make him a therapy dog. But he wasn't always perfect.
Well, I was going to say, so yeah, because obviously, how do you get him into the mode of being? Because a lot of animals are a little skittish around strangers, especially at first, and some of them never really get over that. So how do you kind of slide him into that mode where he's now this wonderful, just relaxed kind of guy?
Well, he was a typical puppy and had a lot of fears, which a lot of Newfoundlands have fears.
Oh, okay.
So he couldn't even walk through town. The trash man was, he was afraid of everything. So we had to work through all that with friends. And a lot of the puppies that we played with that we had met, we just went to the dog parks together, and we made sure every day we played together, and then we started training together, and then we all kind of decided we were going to go to therapy school together. So probably of the 5 dogs that we played with, probably 4 of us went to therapy school together. Yeah. So that helped, and then every day we always played. So that helped with energy, but
yeah. Now with therapy school, so what's the time frame on that? How long? How often?
It probably took us a year of training.
And some dogs probably wash out of therapy training, right?
Well,
it's just not for them. No, okay.
Therapy school or therapy class. Yeah. It's only like 7 to 8 weeks, I think. So, but you pretty much have to have adult class or canine good citizen. You have to prove that your dog can be a good
ready
dog.
For that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take it and fail. But we had a lot of classes together with our friends. And he did fine, but he outweighed me, so he was a stinker. And not a bad dog, but just because of his weight and outweighing me, it was difficult to train him.
Yeah, because obviously even as a puppy, they're pretty big. I mean, obviously they start out relatively small, but they're not a 2-3 pounder when they show up.
He's 165 now. So probably when we were in training, he was pretty close to 150 probably. Wow. So he still outweighed me.
Yeah. So. And we were kind of talking a little bit before we started that, obviously we see the finished product here, and he's all relaxed and he's fun and he loves the attention and goes over to people real calm with them. The first time you took him out, though, the first time he was like on the job, did that go relatively well? I mean, he kind of slid right in and was fine?
Yeah, he was crazy a little bit. He's always a little nervous when I can't say nervous, but he's, wants to know everything about a new place that we go to.
Okay.
And so he's always poking his head into somebody's office or something, but he's never afraid of people. He loves people. He loves the attention, so that helps.
Yeah.
But
now, obviously, do you have any idea how many therapy sessions he's done for people in the course of his career?
We do keep count because we have to turn in his to the Alliance of Therapy, so that keeps a record. We keep a record of it. But he's had like 425 visits now.
Oh my gosh.
And I was telling her, Susan, I think because we were certified right before COVID, so we had 6 months in, then we got locked out for a year and a half.
Sure.
So we pretty much have just like over 4 years of being a therapy dog. So.
Now, Susan, obviously we're going to talk a lot about the book. What gave you the idea? How did the whole idea of just doing a book about a therapy dog and Benny in particular come about? Whose idea was it? Was it your idea? It was probably Benny's idea, right? He came and said, hey, I think I'm book material. I think I should get a little more attention. So how did that sort of evolve? How did that idea come up?
Yeah, I think it was both our ideas almost at the same time. I was wrapping up a book inspired by the Cat Cafe.
Ah, okay.
And we just kind of thought, oh, wouldn't it be neat to have a book about Benny? And that just stuck with me, and I kept thinking about it, and then I couldn't get it out of my head.
Sure, sure. Now, is this your first book about a dog or a pet or an animal? Or
About a dog, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, when you approach the idea, I mean, obviously, it sounds like a good idea, et cetera. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you say, okay, I'm going to write a book about Benny the therapy dog? What was the first thing you wrote down about him in general? What was the first line you started to say, or here's my idea?
Well, I kept getting more information from Carol about his day.
Okay.
And right away I saw this neat story unfolding about how he visits the different age groups.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that would be a really powerful story and something really great to show kids, that he visits different age groups and his presence is so calming, and he's so kind with his time and his presence, and but from there it just kind of spirals.
Now, how many books have you written before this? Is this like one in a long string, or you've done a few before this?
I've done a few. This is number 9,
wow.
I think.
Okay.
Most of mine are about the ukulele. That's how I started with picture books.
Okay. All right. So, well, it's pretty similar, dog, ukulele. I mean, Benny says, I would like to play the ukulele, I think he said a moment ago. And I guess when you think about this, as you started to compile things, one of the things that we always find amazing is people that can take an idea like this, Benny the dog, and create a whole story around it. Now, obviously, he's supplying some of the material, but still to make that entertaining and enjoyable and intriguing to people, because you can lay out his itinerary every day and say, oh, well, here's his schedule of events, but it's probably more than that. It's how he interacts and sort of the sort of personal part of it versus, oh, this is what he does.
Yes, and I think that's what's so fun about crafting a story, because you just have this blank canvas, and I knew I wanted it to be a fun read aloud and for kids to be really engaged with it. Yeah. So.
Now, and what age group is this aimed at?
Around 4 to 8.
4 to 8,
and up,
all ages. Everybody can read it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it being, I mentioned it as a children's book, but we also talk about the fact that Benny goes out and does with people of all ages, not just children, not just college kids, whatever, because he's big on campus. He's like a mainstay on campus here at BGSU.
We can't even go for a walk without people yelling out the window at him.
Hey, there he is, yeah. He's a celebrity. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about you constructing the story and how it evolved over time, and basically how long it took to take it from that first thought or the first discussion you guys had to actually then producing the book that people can read and read aloud to their kids and everything. Back in just a moment with Susan Montgomery, Benny the therapy dog, and Carol Treece, Benny's owner, here in Journal in just a moment. Thanks for staying with us on The Journal. Our guests are Susan Montgomery, the author of Benny's Big Heart, the book we're going to talk about in a little more detail here in a moment. Also, Benny, the therapy dog himself, and Carol Treece, who's Benny's owner. Susan, we talked a little bit about the idea for the book and how it came about, but when that idea first came out, how long does it take for you to say, okay, here's kind of an idea, where are we going to go with this, and then kind of take us through the timeline of from that first initial conversation you guys had to now we've got a finished product that people can read and enjoy and use to provide entertainment for people of all ages.
Yeah, I think from start to finish, around 4 months maybe, which is pretty good, but that's working on it constantly.
Right.
And there were so many drafts I went through, and it's amazing how it starts as just one idea, and it just goes through multiple drafts. And I always like to, the artist in me is working on the illustrations at the same time too.
Sure.
So there's a lot of push and pull and give and take, and there's a lot of adjustments to make along the way. But I knew I wanted it to be a very fun read aloud and something that kids would gravitate towards and just be really accepting of. And I came up with this really fun repeating line throughout, and there's a couple repeating lines with, "Hey, there's Benny," in the book, and I guess that's what I see people say.
Yeah, and that's what they do.
Yeah,
exactly.
they see him. Yeah, wherever he says, people recognize him. He's a
Benny.
celebrity. Now, well, it's interesting because you do your own illustrations, which a lot of times you'll have people who do their own do the writing, but they'll have an illustrator. So you do it all. Now, does the writing lead you to the illustration, or do you draw something and go, "Oh, wait a minute, now I can build an idea around this"? Does it work on both ways?
It works both
okay.
ways, really. Yeah, I usually start with the idea, but sometimes, like this new project I'm working on, sometimes starts with the illustration style, and then I think, oh, what direction can I go in with this?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, when obviously she's writing the book, you were making suggestions, or hey, here's an idea, here's a scenario, here's something that happened, here's something he did, or here's something. So how did you go about saying, hey, here's a great idea, put this in the book? I mean, you guys obviously.
I think we were just talking mostly about what he does, and then I would send her pictures like, here's tonight at the public library, or something silly would happen, or him at the park, or and pictures from campus.
Pictures, yeah, and pictures helped a lot too with just forming how he looked in the book. My first drafts, I did not have his nose right at all. So she kept sending me the right pose I needed for his nose.
Well, because he is very distinctive, obviously, and you want to get it. Well, and obviously too, you want him to look mostly like he does, but then obviously too, it's an illustration, it's a book, it's supposed to be. There's some literary, license allowed there to make it work all that well. Did you guys ever have a discussion where, like, well, you would write something and Carol might say, that's, I didn't agree with it, or maybe any dissension like that at all? Because a lot of times an idea will come up and say, it sounds good, and then you put it right and goes, well, maybe that's not such a great idea after all, but nothing like that, huh?
I think we kind of messed around with a couple different scenarios.
Yeah.
Like your illustrations, what to put and what not to put.
Yeah, and at first the story, I had a couple different drafts of the story itself. One didn't rhyme at all.
Okay.
One rhymed throughout, and one just had part of it that rhymed. So it took a while to figure out which was the strongest story.
The route to take for the whole entity, yeah. Because obviously you start in one place, and as you're going along, you do a little of this along the way to find and get to the destination. Go, okay, yeah. Now, one of the things that's interesting, obviously, Benny deals with people of all ages. Was there any concern about telling the stories? I mean, obviously they're fairly generalized, I'm assuming. There aren't names being named and things like that. But was there ever any concern that someone might recognize himself in the book and go, wait a minute, that's me. They didn't ask me if I could be in the book. Anything like that? I mean, because books, we take for granted that books are just produced, but people sometimes don't like the way they're portrayed sometimes. Oh, this is obviously not that kind of book. But did anybody say, gee, I didn't know I was going to be in the book?
They're kind of in the book, but
they're not. They're not specific to a.
Yeah, and I don't know who, exactly who he visits, just because I'm so removed from, exactly what he does and who he visits with.
I'm sure they would know who they are.
Yeah.
There'll be the follow-up book about the people, the stories behind the stories, kind of thing. Okay, good.
I know, like one of the pictures is a little girl in the library. It looks nothing like her, but we told her, we told her mother that basically she was the reason.
Yeah, this anecdote's going to be in the book, and so
this is basically you.
Yeah,
you
if it looks familiar, sounds familiar.
The picture.
Yeah. Well, people are probably flattered by that, aren't they? I mean, they're probably, oh wow, I didn't know. Yeah, it's just an encounter with Benny, and then it's like suddenly it's been immortalized and put in place forever.
Right.
Now, you talked about some of the other books you've written, and this is the first one about a dog. Does that create any challenges, any difference in approach, or not?
Well, not really. My last one was about cats.
Okay, right.
So I was used to, fur expression,
Yeah.
So I just wanted it to be very playful, and I think, playful and with a good message in it too.
Yeah. Yeah, because one of the things I know that, yeah, and we see a lot of the social media, his appearances, especially, he's a big star on campus. The university students just love him. Everybody loves him. But he's at a lot of events, and it never gets old for people. They love to see him.
Yeah, they do. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And he loves to be out, obviously, because I know the one thing you see is he's very active all the time.
Right.
I mean, obviously he sleeps occasionally, but the reality is he seems to be on the go.
people out. They love people.
Ah.
Newfoundlands are gentle giants. They love people. Like Nana and Peter Pan was a Newfoundland. But yeah, they are definitely people lovers. He'll look for eye contact or someone to just say, hey, and he's there.
Yep. Well, he immediately came over this morning when he came, and he immediately went over and sampled the coffee that was available, which was okay. Making himself at home, which is okay. That's a good thing, because yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah. We come back, we can talk, because obviously we can talk in detail to some degree, but you don't want to give it all away. But we'll talk, there's a trail that kind of winds its way through this book, and we can talk a little about that as well. Back in just a moment with Susan Montgomery, the author of Benny's Big Heart, Carol Treece, the owner of Benny, and Benny the therapy dog here on The Journal. Back in just a moment. You're with us on The Journal. Our focus today is talking about the book Benny's Big Heart. We have Benny the therapy dog, the author Susan Montgomery, and Carol Treece, Benny's owner. Susan, one of the things that winds through the book is sort of this adventure trail. We kind of follow Benny through a day, or through basically one of his paths as he goes about being Mr. Therapy Dog. So talk about that, kind of go through that with us a little bit.
Sure. I wanted to show him just traveling through our city. And at first I had kind of generic library, and then it became clear that I wanted to make it very real. So I used our real library, our real courthouse, and worked on the illustrations that way. And I just thought that would mean so much to the story if I put it in there that way, because it's really honoring the community that welcomes him so much too.
Yeah, because it works both ways. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, so it kind of follows him through, and people say, "Oh, wait, look!" They recognize all these basically touch points along the way, and say, "Oh, I understand now about that," and they can see themselves in that. So that's good. That's good. Now, one of the things, obviously, Carol, we've seen Benny's always on his good behavior for us. He's always whatever, and just an all-around good guy. But obviously, he has his moments probably where he's maybe not exactly following direction real well, or because animals have their own way of going about things. So what's Benny's? What's the darker side of Benny? I know, I'm sure it's
nothing terrible, but he is really stubborn. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And his size. I know. If we are wanting to go somewhere and he doesn't want to go, we're not going.
It takes a while to,
I know. And if I get a little upset, then he's like this.
Yeah. Now,
he knows
does he come up and say, "I'm ready to do this and let's do it," or not?
Usually, like when it's time for a visit, I get his backpack out or get his bib out, he's like really excited. Can't wait to get in the car and get ready to go.
He's ready to go,
Yeah, he loves to work.
Well, I know sometimes, I've seen him on a boat. You guys have a boat. And I've always joked about the fact that one day he'll get on the boat and basically take it out on the lake by himself. Like, okay, you guys are late, I'm leaving, see you later. And you would do that, wouldn't you? You probably would.
Yeah.
But he looks right at home sitting on the boat like, okay, I'm ready, where are you guys?
He has his seat on the boat, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed to sit there. And he waits for the boat rides. Whether we're going or not, he's waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he loves boat rides.
Yeah, and as you said, he decides if he's going to do something sometimes or not, and that's just how that is. And eventually comes around to your way of thinking, though.
Right.
No doubt about it.
He does.
Yeah. Now, have there ever been any instances where people have not been comfortable with him? Because obviously he's incredibly friendly, but he is a big dog, and his presence is pretty. You know when he's in the room.
Yeah. Well, you can pretty much tell by eye contact. Like when we go to hospital or even the libraries, if people look and they'll just be kind of like, look away. You can tell, and you just stay away. And I think they sense that too. Even when we went to the cancer center before COVID, people will, you can tell by their look whether they want, hey, come on over.
They want him to be around. Yeah.
They just kind of give you the...
Yeah, because some people just in general aren't fond of dogs. It's not anything about
My
Benny
own
in
mother
particular.
was
but-
not fond of...
Yeah.
I mean, she liked him, but
Yeah.
she didn't want him close
Yeah.
to her.
Yeah. So obviously, he's got a schedule of events. I mean, what are some of the general things he's got lined up in the next month or so? Is he how far out is he booked generally? In case somebody wants to have it.
I don't know,
have him
some
do
of the
something.
events at the university are regular, you know, for the semester.
Yeah.
And then other times they're just like events that come up because of, you know, like exam week or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
things like that,
But
yeah,
every
yeah.
week we always go to the public library on Tuesdays. And we do the rec center at the university on Mondays. And then we have study drop at the Jerome Library on Wednesdays.
wow.
So those
So-
are pretty regular. And then the hospital every other Thursday.
So he covers a lot of territory.
He does.
Yeah. Now, Susan, obviously you're writing this book, and you talked about trying to make it real for people, and at the same time, of course, keep it this sort of thing that everybody can see themselves in. At what point when you're writing do you say, okay, this is the final version, or we've come to the conclusion, we've started, here we are, we've got all the parts in there. How does that come about? Because obviously you're writing a book and ideas keep coming in. And as you said, you kind of move around a little bit. At what point do you go, okay, this is the final product?
Yeah, it comes really close to the end before publishing, and once I do the proof copy, and can see everything in print, and read it out loud a few times, and I share the story too. I shared it with Carol all throughout the process, and I share it with a little team of early readers, and kind of get some feedback of whether something's not landing right or something just didn't quite get the right tone I wanted. So that's really helpful, but it takes a while to get it just right, and you just kind of know when it's done.
It's there,
it's like another read through, and then you're like, yes, this is it.
Well, and you kind of anticipated my next question about other people looking at it, because obviously when you're working on a project you can get really close to it and maybe, as you said, not see, oh, that looks like that's going to work perfectly, and somebody goes, what was that about? I don't get, what are you going for there? And you're like, oh, well, it seems obvious. So you do have other people that kind of weigh in a little bit and say, yeah, that worked, or we're not sure what you meant by that, or what's that in there for, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do that with all my books now. Try to have an early team of readers, because like you said, when you are so close to a project, you just don't see other things that other people might see, and that can be true with the illustrations too.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So it's very helpful to share.
Yeah. Now, how did you get into the business sort of writing and illustrating? What is that? Something you thought about from? You always wanted to do it, or did you kind of just work into it from some other direction?
It actually started during the pandemic, and I started self-publishing books about the ukulele, music books specifically. And then I just found that publishing books was fascinating. I just love creating something out of nothing, and I could do whatever theme and topic I wanted. Like, this was great. So I kind of wrote books on different genres and themes. And then a couple years ago is when I started the picture books, because I realized there weren't many books about the ukulele. And I thought, well, this is such a fun instrument that a lot of kids are learning about, so let's write some stories.
Yeah. Well, and adults too, for that matter, who love the ukulele. Yeah, it's sort of like a universal instrument in a way. So yeah. Well, really, do you have something on the burner right now? A project that's in the works, or projects that are in the works?
I have a couple different directions I could go in, and I'm not sure which one is gonna go first. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's just part of that. So you have a lot of different recipes on the table all the time, and you're just kind of going through them.
Yeah.
Well, this is a great book. Now, where can we find the book, and how easy is it to track it down? Is it available?
It's on Amazon.
On Amazon,
yep,
okay,
on
great.
Amazon.
Wow.
And soon it will be available locally. I'll have copies at the library event too.
Okay.
So that's on Monday, May 12th.
Oh, okay, coming up,
5
so
p.m.,
people can keep an eye out for that, and and you'll be there making an appearance and doing all that stuff, and will Benny be there too?
Yes.
Benny will be there. He'll be signing.
Will be there.
He'll be signing copies. Yeah. Okay, good for him. Good.
I think the background too, like we're both teachers, like when she was a teacher, so
okay.
I think that
Yeah.
helps kind of.
So so you're used to weaving stories and being able to figure out how to
and
reach
thinking
people.
about what would work and what wouldn't.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's a good aside as well. Well, Benny, thank you so much. Appreciate your comments today, and keep them.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you so much for putting this together, because it's such a great idea to follow him, and you had to say put him in this place now where people can read about him as well as experience his presence all the time. So very good. Good. One real quick aside here. This is a kind of a bittersweet moment for us on the Journal. It's the last program of the semester, which means a lot of the people who have worked on the program, a lot of our students, will be done as of today. They might have some other projects here at the station, but we're going to lose a lot of good people. If you watch the credits, you'll see the names of the students who have helped us all through the semester. So keep in mind, they help all of this work just like you do as viewers, so we appreciate that very much. That being said, you can check us out at WBGU.org, and of course, you can watch us each week on WBGU-PBS at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. We'll see you again next time. Good night and good luck.